I guess the question is, what is the most popular character that we produce or that I've come up with? And for sure it's Kaiju Eyezon. And Kaiju Eyezon is a mutant potato from outer space, and so that's why when you see the toy, he has multiple eyes on his body, and his little horns are like little, you know, like when the potato gets old and it starts sprouting the little spud things all around it. Now, I kind of kept that story secret for a little while because the few people I told that backstory to hated it, and they were just like, no, he can't be a potato. Like, he's supposed to be, you know, this monster, this giant kaiju. You got to come up with a better story. But over the years, I've met more people who actually like the backstory, so I feel more relaxed talking about it. But the way that character developed is back in the early days of Max Toys. This is like 2005, 2004 era. I came up with a core 4 characters that I wanted to make into toys based on a fictitious TV show called Captain Max, which was basically like a fake Ultraman, Spectreman type of TV show in Japan. And I came up with a whole backstory of like, they developed this TV show, but then the guy who was gonna play the title character, Captain Max, got drunk and they were gonna go live on TV, but then they had to cut it because they couldn't use any of the footage. And so one of the companies was gonna make a toy Captain Max and Isaison and the other creatures he battles, but then they couldn't sell it because the show never broadcast. So that sort of led into me introducing the first Max toy figures. So Kaiju Eyezon originally started as a series of sketches, and I can show those sketches. Now this is just, a turnaround is basically like the back, the front, and the side of whatever you're making, whatever the toy is. I don't have the front, but this is the back and this is the side. And this is what I sent over to China. Over there, they sculpted out of wax a 3D version of what I drew. And then from that, they developed the soft vinyl first version of Kaiju Eyezon, which is this one. One strong point of doing, I guess, production in China is whatever you give them is exactly what you're gonna get. I guess my only criticism was it was so exact that I was actually hoping for the sculptor to put a little bit of his own style or feel into it. But, you know, I was happy with it. And again, they got all the nice spray patterns, you know, perfect. My whole motto, as I tell my son Max, is that life is like a marathon and it's not a sprint. Even with the toys, it may take me 3, 4 or more years to sell through a run of something, but that's what I plan on. So, you know, if it's a big hit right out the gate, I mean, that's great, and then I'll order more, make more. But on the other hand, if it's not a big hit, then at least I know I have a plan over the next few years to like slowly release other colorways, do some customs or something with it. So it's really, I have to take a long range outlook on how a toy is going to sell. The biggest difference between, let's say, Chinese production and Japanese production, in my opinion, is in China, whatever sketch or whatever figure you give them, you will get that exact same thing back. So that's great. Like, there's really no deviation from that. When I work with Japanese sculptors, I want them to put their own style into it. I will just ask them to take a certain character or just give them some prompts and have them just create it themselves. So really what you're seeing in terms of the sculpt from Japan is a unique interpretation from that sculptor. In terms of doing production in Japan, you have to give them a sculpt of some sort, and then that sculpt is cast in wax, and then the wax piece is cut up into the different pieces, so like arms, legs, torso, head, for like a simple kind of Sofubi type of production. Then they'll put flanges on it, and then that's what they will make the molds out of, are those pieces. So they'll do the electroplating process where copper is built up around the wax pieces. Once the copper is built around those pieces, they take it out of the solution and they heat up the copper and burn out the wax. So what you're left with is the actual kind of mold of that part. And then those parts are all welded onto like these little cages, and those cages are eventually what's called the iron mold, and that's what's used in the production of these pieces. I'm lucky because the factories I deal with have very low quantities. So literally if I only needed like a few pieces, I'm sure they would do that for me. But since it's such a long way and I have to have things shipped to me, you know, I usually get at least 20 to 30 pieces each time that I'm ordering. I only work with traditional sculptors. So they will generate their sculpt, you know, out of Super Sculpey or some similar type of hard clay-like material. And then those pieces are then given to our wax guy, and then the wax guy will generate the individual pieces for the molding process. I'm sure if we did digital, it would be the similar process. I mean, you know, the digital pieces could be sent to the wax guy. Really, the sculpt is sort of like just the beginning, because they still have to make wax pieces so that they can electroplate them and make the molds out of those pieces. I think a lot of people recognize my work because it's fairly colorful, and to kind of go back in my thinking of why that is, I think I've always been attracted to brighter colors. Even the vintage figures that I collect, like the Bullmark figures, they're all painted with very bright and vibrant colors. I think it's a personality choice. Like, I'm not a dark person, so I do gravitate towards like brighter colors. Versus maybe like a gothic person who'd want darks and purples and deep reds and stuff. But when I approach painting a figure, I guess it depends on whether it's a multi-piece release where there's going to be a bunch of figures that are all painted the same, versus like a custom piece, which is just a one-off or one of a kind. If it's a multi-piece type of thing, then to be honest, I hate to do that. And I won't do more than, say, 15 figures in a run, because I've done up to 75 figures one time, and it just killed me. It's like, it just kills my soul to like do such repetitive work. So now between 15, 20 pieces, you have to kind of simplify the paintwork a little bit. So again, I'll go back to looking at my vintage Bullmark pieces and seeing how they sprayed certain parts, like a spray down the body, down the arms, you know, hit a little highlight on top of the head kind of thing, and then go back in with hand-painted details for eyes, teeth, or horns, if that's needed. If it's a one-off, then I have a little more freedom in terms of, there's no rules, right? I can put a touch of green over here, I could put some purple underneath this arm, or, you know, I could put a stripe of silver down the back. Also, if it's a custom, I charge more. Since I do charge more, I put a little bit more spray or a little more hand-painted touches on it to make sure the customer's getting a little bit more than they normally would for a lower priced figure. So if it's a custom, I don't really plan too much in advance what I'm going to do on that piece. I guess the closest would be if I do like a space or a galaxy type of theme. Then of course I know I'm going to have to paint the figure, base coat the figure in fairly dark colors. And then from there, I can layer different colored stars, I can put like planets or, you know, that kind of stuff on top of it. If it's just a quote normal, you know, type of Isaison type of figure, you know, I've painted so many of those over the years now that it's sort of like, sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself. I might try something a little bit different, like I'll put some paint splatters on it or something. Lately I've been experimenting with crackle paint. So I try to mix it up a little bit just so I can kind of keep it a little fresh, because it's been like 20 plus years of almost painting these things. So I'm sort of reaching to the point of getting a little burnt out. And I know my son is totally burnt out. So it happens. 99.9% of the people that I interact with or buy Max toys, super positive. Everybody's, you know, super helpful. Occasionally I might ship the wrong toy to the wrong guy, and I'll have to coordinate getting that guy to ship it to the right guy, and then his toy has to go to the other guy, and everybody's been, you know, very honest and cool about it. I feel like I'm not really on the convention scene, so in that way I feel a little bit of a disconnect between getting the most direct fan feedback or interactions to me. So I kind of feel like I just do my stuff. I'm sort of like this little island, and hopefully people receive it well, and then I just move on to the next release, and you know, every month it's sort of like that. But yeah, overall I feel like people are very cool about it. I've been asked, like, you know, oh, is this, you know, is Sofubi gonna grow, is, you know, this or that. 20 plus years, it's ever evolving. I've seen it go up, I've seen it go down, I've seen creators come and go, artists come and go, but in the end I don't have any interest in putting my stuff in mass market. That's not what I want to do. You know, I guess I'm more artisan about it. So I'd rather be much more hands-on, do smaller releases. It helps keep things fresh for me and not have to worry about, you know, getting 1,000 or 10,000 units out there and worrying about returns and whatever damage and customers complaining about parts falling apart or something like that. I guess I'm lucky that I've just positioned myself so I have a nice core following for what I do, and, you know, less stress. That's always important.